This is NBC4's News Conference with Conan Nolan, your political source for over 50 years and Southern California's longest-running program.
Good morning and welcome to the Tom Brokaw News Center here at Universal City. Thanks for joining us. I'm Conan Nolan. Congresswoman Laura Friedman is a Democrat, represents Glendale, Burbank, and Pasadena. She's also a member of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee and Science and Technology. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
So you introduced a bill recently, the Cut Red Tape for Housing Act, on the federal side. I want you to talk about it. Most people think when it comes to housing, that's a local issue. How does the federal government get involved? But you say they do.
Sure. Well, when I was in the state legislature, I did a lot of work on housing because it's the biggest crisis here in the Southland. We all know the rents are too high, and too many young families can't do what I did 25 years ago and buy a house. And that makes it really hard to live in Los Angeles. So I did a lot of work in the Assembly, went to Congress with an eye towards addressing this problem from the federal government. And you're right. Zoning is controlled locally. A lot is controlled locally. But the federal government has more to do with housing than you might think. For one thing, because the federal government passes money through and sometimes pays money directly for affordable housing, that's subsidized housing used for low-income people, whether they're seniors or people with severe disabilities. A lot of times that income-capped housing that's subsidized is funded by the federal government. And that means that in this case, federal government processes impact housing in very strange and often unnecessary ways. So what does that lead to? It leads to extra red tape, a level of bureaucracy that's not necessary, but more importantly, it increased costs for developers. It adds time to build the housing that we need the most, which is affordable housing. And sometimes it's so bad that projects don't get made.
So you have a Republican co-sponsor. You would think bipartisan bill. What is leadership saying?
I haven't heard from leadership, but we got a Republican co-lead within a couple of days of bringing this bill forward. It's now a priority bill for the brand new Build America Caucus, which I'm a member of. And what the bill does is it says that infill housing, meaning housing that's already in our cities on land that's already been developed. Maybe it was a parking lot. Maybe it was a strip mall that's now sitting vacant, now in an eyesore. Maybe it was an old office building that no one wants to use because it's obsolete and it's boarded up. It takes those properties and it says that if you build affordable housing on those properties, you won't have to go through a process that right now you have to go through called NEPA, which is the National Environmental Protection Act. Now, that's a great bill. It says if you're developing somewhere, let's see if there's an impact on the environment. But hopefully we can all agree that redeveloping a previously developed site with the most important, most needed kind of housing, affordable housing, does not negatively impact the environment. It actually positively impacts the environment as well as the people who live in it. And so those projects are going through a whole level of unnecessary bureaucracy and red tape that market rate luxury housing doesn't have to go through.
Right. Does the state need, and does your party need to change its attitude towards getting stuff done?
We see people trying to kill projects all the time, whether it's people railing against a bike lane or new transit or the apartment building in their neighborhood. And that crosses party lines the same way that support for bills like mine crosses party lines. But I'll tell you this. I think what people are maybe getting hung up on is that a lot of the blue states generally care about the environment. We want clean water. We want clean air. We want to protect our open spaces. And I am absolutely 100% an environmentalist. And I've been an environmental leader my entire career in politics. But here's the thing. When we see bills that actually aren't helping the environment, or parts of bills, like in this case, where you're adding a layer of environmental review where it absolutely isn't necessary and where it's duplicative, I think it's up to us who do support environmental policy to say we're going to look for those cases where where things are being caught up in these regulations that shouldn't, and we're going to free them, so that we don't have anyone saying, hey, we don't need any environmental rules. Let's
move on to one other bill. We have a few minutes left.
Sure.
You've introduced an act that would require Immigration and Customs Enforcement to take down their masks.
Yes, take off those masks.
Right. They argue, listen, it's for their safety. They're being doxxed. People are taking pictures of them, and they're going after their families. That's why they're masked when they make these raids.
Listen, nobody should be doxing any law enforcement. I have zero tolerance for people who threaten law enforcement at any level with real harm. On the other hand, we haven't seen any evidence of any kind of wholesale or organized doxing of ICE agents. We see angry people yelling at them sometimes, but that's very different. We have law enforcement in California that have operated without masks forever. We don't expect our local police to be wearing masks. We don't, even the FBI doesn't, they don't wear masks either. And they are encountering a lot of truly dangerous people. But if we're going to have the public trust what ICE is doing, we need to make sure that there's transparency and accountability. Because we've also seen some disturbing evidence that some of these ICE agents, not all of them, but some of them are trampling on people's civil rights. And I'll tell you one other thing that's happening that's very dangerous is people don't know whether that person who's trying to take someone into custody is really an ICE agent or not. And we have already seen robberies where people were impersonating ICE agents. We saw a rape where someone said they were an ICE agent and told an immigrant that if she didn't have sex with them, they were going to deport her. That person was not really an ICE agent. It was a criminal. But there's so much confusion about who's legitimate and who's not that we need to do something about it to get the trust of the public and to have accountability.
Representative Laura Friedman, Democrat of Glendale, Burbank, Pasadena, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.